My name is Masha and I'm 16 years old. I live in a small town in Russia. My father doesn't make a lot of money and my family isn't very wealthy. There are a lot of things we can't afford. One of those things is internet. One day, while I was in school, one of my friends told me she had heard about a new service that gets you free internet. She said all you had to do was connect to their network, which was called free Wi-Fi, and then you could browse the internet to your heart's content without having to pay a thing. It sounded almost too good to be true. That evening when I got home, I decided to try it out. I opened up my laptop and searched for the network called free Wi-Fi. The signal was excellent, so I selected it and clicked connect. My internet browser popped up and a black background with sinister red letters. There was a message. Welcome to free Wi-Fi. Thank you for visiting. We don't require any payment. We don't require any registration. All we ask is for some basic information about our visitors. Please answer the following question. There were 4 pictures on the page: a bus, a boat, a train, and a plane. Underneath there was a question. What is your usual mode of transportation? I cycled to school. My father didn't own a car and we could never afford to go anywhere on holiday. I didn't use any of those modes of transportation, so I just chose the train at random and clicked on it. A thank you message appeared on the screen and then I was able to browse the internet. I was delighted. This was the answer to all my problems. Now I could set up a Facebook account and keep in touch with my friends on Twitter and Instagram. The next day, however, as I watched TV, the show was interrupted by a breaking news alert. The local news reporter was saying that there had been a terrible accident. A train had derailed and come off the tracks just as it was crossing a bridge. Several carriages plunged into the river below, and almost everyone on board had been killed. I was horrified. That's when I remembered the website I had visited the night before. I had selected the picture of the train. I tried to tell myself it was just a coincidence. I mean, what would have happened if I chose the picture of the plane? Would there have been a plane crash the next day? The idea was ludicrous. That evening I needed to use the internet again. I connected to the free Wi-Fi network and again the same page popped up. This time though, the question was different. There were 4 pictures of houses: a bungalow, a 2-story house, a 3-story house, and an apartment building. Underneath in big red sinister letters was the question, which type of house do you live in? My family lives in a bungalow and I was about to choose that option when I stopped myself. My finger hovered over the mouse button, but I couldn't click it. What if my suspicions were true? I wondered. It was a silly thought, but I couldn't just take that chance. Instead, I clicked on the apartment building just to be safe. A thank you message flashed on the screen and I was able to connect to the internet again. The next day, the apartment building near my school burned down. Luckily, the fire had happened during the day, so most people weren't home. About 20 people perished in the blaze. The police say they suspected arson. I was worried. It was starting to seem like more than a coincidence. No matter how crazy it seemed, I had a sneaking suspicion that somehow the free Wi-Fi was causing all these tragedies. I decided that I would be better off if I just left it alone. However, that night I began to doubt myself. The more I thought about it, the sillier it seemed. Was I just being paranoid? How could connecting to a free Wi-Fi network result in the death of over 100 people? Who would ever believe such a thing was possible? After mulling it over for almost an hour, I was convinced it was just an insane coincidence. I took out my laptop, turned it on, and connected to the free Wi-Fi. My internet browser opened again. There were 4 more pictures. When I saw them, I let out a gasp of horror. The pictures were of my mother, my father, my little sister, and myself. Underneath, in big, sinister red letters, was the question, which of these is your favorite family member? I was awoken by a loud thumping sound. Startled, I sat up in my bed, but I could see nothing in the darkness of my room. No odd shapes. Thinking it was my imagination, I went back to sleep. But a few minutes later, the low thumping happened again. I opened my eyes and glanced at the clock next to my nightstand, and it read midnight. Midnight, the witching hour. I snorted at the silly saying. I didn't believe in such nonsense. I believed the thumping was probably an animal on the roof. All sorts of night animals tend to get up there, especially at this hour. The sound had to be coming from above, and just sounds like it's in my room. I was about to close my eyes again, but suddenly the thumping happened again, louder. Okay, so now I'm a little creeped out. I never heard something so loud before. I shut my eyes tight and tried to fall back asleep. I wish my parents were home, but they left earlier to visit my sick grandmother, and my older brother is spending the night with his girlfriend. I almost wished Ashley was here. She's this annoying airhead from my school. Can't stand her snobby attitude, and it sucked that she lived right next door. At the moment, though, I started wishing even she was here with me. Thump. Oh God. I pulled the covers over my head and tried to ignore the sound. It had to be my imagination. Yep, just imagining it. I shouldn't have read so many creepypasta stories before falling asleep. Creepy stories from this site always give me nightmares. An hour passed. No more thumping. Good. Starting to feel sleepy again. As I start to doze off, I hear the whisper, I have come for you. My eyes shot open. I will feast on your soft flesh. I started to cry. That voice was real. There was something in the room with me. I will enjoy the sound of your screams while I slowly peel off your skin. I didn't want to look, but I felt like I had to. My eyes tried to locate the smooth, deep voice, the voice that was threatening horrid things. I quickly spotted it. He was at the foot of my bed. Even in the darkness, I could see how tall he was, and very pale. His large black eyes glared down at me with such intense hatred. Why was he angry at me? I don't understand, but did I even want to? Tonight, Ashley, you will die, he whispered angrily. I was about to scream, but then I realized something. Did he just say Ashley? I'm not Ashley, I managed to shout at the pale man. You're not? Asked the pale man with a puzzled expression. No, my name's Erica. Ashley lives in the house next door, I explained nervously. The pale man stared at me for a moment, and then he pulled out a piece of paper from a pocket and studied it. With a look of annoyance, he stuffed the paper back in his pocket and smiled at me. Oh God, his smile. His mouth was too wide, and his teeth were sharp, maybe even razor sharp. My deepest apologies. I was given the wrong information. Sorry to have disturbed your rest, he said politely, and then I watched stunned as he crawled out of my bedroom window. Oh, he popped his head back inside and grinned at me with a large, scary grin. I know this is rather strange, coming from me, but would you like to maybe catch a movie one of these days, or dinner, perhaps? Well, I'm kind of already seeing someone, I said. Oh, pity. Well, have a good night, he said as he had poked back out. I stood frozen for a bit. I couldn't believe what just happened. Nobody would believe me. Well, it was gone now, whatever hell he was. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. I was brave enough to finally move and went to close my window and lock it securely. As I settled into sleep, I realized something. It was going to get Airhead Ashley. I was about to dart out of bed, but stopped. She was pretty nasty to everybody. Not like she was somebody I cared for, too. Oh well, I thought as I snuggled back into my warm blankets and went back to sleep. If you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to, you can follow me at Twitter. The handle is @FuzzyPantaloons, and I'll see you all next time.